I first met then Sergeant Stephanie Cox, née Loreline, when I showed up for my initial hiring physical fitness assessment with the Evansville Police Department. It was intimidating to see her inform several individuals that they had failed the physical, but I was impressed with how she was both straightforward and compassionate in her delivery. Fast forward a few years, and Officer Sarah Brown approached West Sector Patrol Commander Lieutenant Loreline at the old West Sector office. I felt that I and several other officers had been unfairly treated over an administrative matter. Lieutenant Loreline heard my complaint, said she could understand why we would feel that way, but then listed a litany of reasons why we were wrong. I thought, well, that's twice I've seen her deliver bad news in a firm, yet fair manner. I obviously didn't like the answer I was getting as I drove off in a snit. I would have never thought I would be nominating her for this award. That said, I could see based on her response that she was a woman of principles. Her infallible principles are probably what I admire most about her. She is kind and just without being weak or uninformed. She stands up for what she believes in, making her case without being condescending or authoritarian. She is incredibly smart, has an exemplary work ethic, and always manages to keep the betterment of the Evansville Police Department and its employees in mind when making a decision. I have never heard any member of this department say that Deputy Chief Cox didn't accomplish something that she needed to add to her to-do list on their behalf. I'm sure she wouldn't even see it as extra work or any exceptional effort. I truly believe she looks at every concern or task brought to her as making our department better by addressing it. This is mirrored in how she addresses concerns and tasks brought to her by her community. When I later worked in the crime prevention unit with Lieutenant Loreline as my direct supervisor, she made sure every phone call was answered, every citizen that came to the door was met by an officer, and every neighborhood group had an officer present at their meeting. She truly cares about making sure residents have their voices heard, even if that meant that she was the one to answer the call, greet people at the door, or attend that citizen meeting. In my 15 years with EPD, I have found Deputy Chief Cox to be one of the hardest working, most dependable, diligent, and loyal officers on the department. Her coworkers and the citizens of Evansville are lucky to have her leadership, dedication, intellect, and kindness. In order to demonstrate the true nature of this peer recognition, I approached several members within our department to comment on their own experiences with Deputy Chief Cox. I wasn't surprised to see that the feedback I received was absolutely glowing.
Since 1992, when I partnered with Deputy Chief Cox when she was still on probation, I saw a police officer that always strived to do the right thing no matter what. In a time when law enforcement is under incredible scrutiny, Deputy Chief Cox represents all that is right about the profession and in turn what Sergeant Howard Davis represented.
Chief Stephanie Cox has been my role model since I was hired in June of 2004. She has always maintained professionalism and has been an excellent example of how a leader should be. I have always strived to be like her, and she is one of the reasons that I have tried to advance in my career.
I have known Stephanie Cox for nearly 27 years in a professional capacity. She takes a genuine interest in the person she is speaking to and does so without her own interests in mind. She is the perfect example of who this award was meant to recognize.
She humbly goes about being awesome every day. I think Stephanie and Howard were cut from the same cloth. Maybe someday we will have a Stephanie Cox Award. It would certainly be appropriate.
Since I started in 1995, I have worked alongside Stephanie Cox in many capacities. Stephanie has always been one of the hardest working leaders on the department. I cannot think of a more deserving or better candidate for this award.
One of the high points in the 13 years I have spent at the Evansville Police Department is the time I have spent working with Deputy Chief Stephanie Cox. She never views anything as beneath her. I can also say she is one of the kindest individuals I have ever met. I have been in the workforce for 40 years, and I can say without hesitation that it is a rare privilege to work with someone of her caliber.
Chief Cox has risen through the ranks just as Sergeant Davis and excelled at every job assignment that has been assigned to her. Chief Cox will listen to all the facts and base her decision on what is best for the situation at hand and not the easiest choice. Chief Cox is the emblem of a true leader in the police profession.
A leader like Deputy Chief Cox is an immense value to the City of Evansville and the Evansville Police Department, and she is a clear choice for the Sergeant Howard E. Davis Peer Recognition Award.
Stephanie and I were sworn in together in 1992, and to this day I am lucky to call her my friend. We both had an opportunity to work with Howard Davis before his retirement. He definitely was the consummate cop. Stephanie is deserving of this award because of her loyalty to her fellow officers, family, and friends. Her opinion is highly sought after, and she is well respected among her peers and coworkers.
I just want to say thank you so much to everyone. This is such an honor to receive. I work with an incredible group of people. I see the hard work that they do every day, and I admire them and am inspired by them. So to receive a recognition from the very group that I admire so much means the absolute world to me. I want to thank Sergeant Brown for taking the time and effort to put this nomination together, and for all my coworkers that contributed to it. It's definitely my coworkers that make this job meaningful and worthwhile. So I sincerely thank all of them. And I was one of the very fortunate people that got to work with Howard Davis for many years, and he truly was everything that this award stands for. So I feel so fortunate to be a part of that group now. So I just want to say thank you to everyone.